It may seem indulgent or not important, but really take time out to think about yourself and how you operate and what motivates you, and that makes you a better operator. So I think some of those sessions, and there's not many of them, have been revelationary in understanding what drives you and what makes you feel good about what you do.
Welcome to the latest video interview from FT Advisor as part of our year-long series of interviewing women in financial services about their pathways into the profession. With me in the studio today is Gabrielle Beaumont. She's the founder and Chief Executive Officer of 149 Group. Gabby, welcome to the FT studio.
Thanks so much, Simone. Thanks for having me.
What made you think about financial services as a career?
When I was at school, I liked maths as much as English, as much as PE. I think that translated into my choice to study geography, which was a bit of everything. If you're interested in global politics, as anyone is now, it would have been really pertinent because we'd be discussing everything about Venezuela and Trump. The most popular career for geographers is to become a chartered accountant.
Is it really?
Yeah, they typically don't know what they want to do. Becoming a chartered accountancy opens up many doors, many options, and is a good kind of next step on to keep your options open if you're so inclined.
I suppose you're thinking about spreadsheets, and if you're talking about soil erosion and putting that into graphs and spreadsheets, then tax might be the next thing.
That's people's natural thought when they think of accountants, they think of bean counters. As a chartered accountant, it's more like a business qualification. So you get to understand the entirety of a business. There's various modules, business life cycle, business finance, of course. It's about understanding how a business operates and how to run a business effectively. So that stood me in really good stead for everything that I do today. So yeah, it wasn't a deliberate progression into the world of financial planning. It was kind of, let's keep my options open, let's learn about how business works, and let's see how I can apply that to the broader world.
Well, now you are very much focused on how businesses work, aren't you? Can you talk a little bit about what you do now in your day job?
As chief executive, I oversee the entire group. This is a people business, so everyone has to be appropriately aligned, incentivized, motivated. It's about numbers as well. So it's the interaction of those two things. And a lot of my time is spent, particularly in a buy and build, which is what 149 does, in speaking to business owners about their businesses and how they might want to join our group.
Do you think that's a bit of a USP of yours? I mean, you mentioned people so many times there. That's definitely a people business, and perhaps we forget about that. But you clearly enjoy going out and meeting.
So I'm very nosy. I thought curious was a better word. I'm very interested in people. I want to know immediately everything about them, their background, what drives them, what motivates them, what they want to do going forwards. And I think that sets the tone for whether a deal is possible. And I always say to these individuals, this is not just about the deal, completing on a deal, you pocketing some cash and walking away. This is about, can you work with us post-deal? So it's all about people. So my USP of curiosity really, I suppose, is diligence, due diligence on the people and the individuals and the businesses that we're acquiring and how they'll fit in to our wider group.
That takes a lot of confidence, doesn't it, to be able to speak to so many different people and really get to understand what their values are, what their vision is. That must have been like quite a step up from sort of studying geography at university. Could you ever imagine yourself leading this group and going across the country and
I don't think
interrogating people?
I don't think you ever do project forwards. Some people have a grand plan. Mine has always been about doing everything thoroughly, deliberately, to the best of my ability, and that's how I've ended up where I am today. It genuinely is a keen desire to get to the crux of what motivates people. Perhaps it comes across as confidence. I like to meet all different types of people, and I think I get on with all different types of people that do all different sorts of jobs.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I think I would have liked to have had a bit more direction. And I think I would have said, look, try and think about what you want to do and focus and be more deliberate about your decisions, but stay true to yourself and do what you know to be right in every instance. Then you'll always feel good about what you're doing, and you'll always be on the right track. You talk about people. Being a people pleaser has been my biggest problem, and I have expended too much energy trying to please and appease people. And if anything, for 2026, I'm going to stop doing that.
Because breaking news.
It's a waste of energy. I think if you do good things, then good things will happen. So no one's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, just like you. So that, if you apply that to everything that goes on, you can't go far wrong.
That's right, because we can always second guess ourselves based on what we think other people are thinking about us. And because I think so much energy is wasted on trying to be or fit into this particular mould or pattern. You know, I mean, what you said reminded me when I first became a journalist in '99. I walked into a couple of meetings and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to look the part. So like I had my hair scraped back and I bought pinstripe suits.
Yeah.
It was a lot thinner then.
Double cuffs,
pinstripe suits, a nice monogrammed cuffed shirts. And I walked around with a briefcase. I genuinely did that. Trousers.
Like a man.
Trousers, exactly. Yeah. Because I thought I have to look like a boss lady, you know, and all the projections of, you know, sort of Sharon Stone in these sort of, well, not quite Sharon Stone. Maybe that's a different, that's different. I'm not going to do any uncrossing legs here. But there was sort of that image of like the big shoulder pad, you had to look the part. And then I remember a couple of years later going to this interview with Rupi Makar, who was editing Planned Savings. And she wore this beautiful flowing skirt. And I commented on it. And she said, oh, I'm just being true to myself.
Exactly.
Who I am. And I thought, do you know, I'd just be true to myself because actually people don't care whether you're a woman or a man. They just want to know that you can do the job, right?
I was very nervous at public speaking or even in forums like this, but no one minds if you're nervous. In fact, I think you endear yourselves to people by showing that vulnerability. So embrace that and don't let that terrify you into paralysis.
I mean, this sounds like fantastic career advice, not just for your younger self, but for women, young men, anyone nowadays to come in.
It may seem indulgent or not important, but really take time out to think about yourself and how you operate and what motivates you. And that makes you a better operator. So I think some of those sessions, and there's not many of them, have been revelationary in understanding what drives you and what makes you feel good about what you do.
Are you engaged in any coaching or mentoring yourself?
So we had a new lady called Katie up in the Northwest join the business. Brilliant chartered financial planner. I went to meet her. We struck it off straight away. And I heard via her line manager that she'd like me to mentor her if I was keen to do that. And I thought, that's absolutely what I want to do. What's stopping me? We have our first kind of kick-off mentoring session on Friday. So really excited about that. And that's something I'd like to roll out across the business for everybody.
Gabby, what do you think marked 2025 in terms of M&A activity in the advisory space?
Buyers being really discerning about those businesses that they acquire and doing far more diligence and getting under the skin more than ever. For example, we're in the process of buying a business and we are meeting with not just the vendors, we're getting to know everybody in that business and really kind of thrashing out that cultural diligence piece, to my point that I always talk around people. You want to be really deliberate about what you buy and just buy things that you know are going to work for the long term. So I'd say a real focus on quality.
What's 149 Group's ambition for 2026?
I think integration will be the watchword for the sector in 2026. I think the watchword for 149 Group will be growth. We're now in a position where we want these quality businesses to come on board with us, knowing that we've done all of that work and we're not going to be distracted with what integration looks like. The focus will be on how can we grow and how can we grow inorganically by acquiring really good businesses. But once we've acquired businesses, how can we help them grow organically to everyone's benefit?
What advice could you give to people whose business it is to try and train up new people and bring them into the industry?
The challenge we have in this sector, and everyone agrees, is there's far too few people coming through. But more broadly, there's no awareness of this as a career path, or very little awareness of this as a career path. And that's partly because for decades, these have been tiny little businesses that don't have the budget of the Big Four or the Magic Circle law firms to go and recruit all this top talent. But I expect as we get bigger and there's bigger players, there will be budget and awareness and more people will come into the sector. But I'd like to do more to bring good people through. I think it's about education, about understanding that this is a really attractive career path and you can become chartered and you can have a really good time working with clients to help them plan for their lives. That's a really exciting thing to do. I read that 60% of wealth will sit with women in 2025. Females only controlled 2/3 of what males controlled in 2020. So in the last 5 years, there's been this movement of wealth to women. So we need to address that via women coming through the sector. They want to, in some instances, work with only women. And we need to educate ourselves as to where the wealth sits and have appropriate people facing off against those individuals. I think 70% of widows change their financial planner within 3 years of inheriting or taking control of the wealth. So we have to be alive to that.
One financial advisor always wants to have meetings with the man and the woman, and he asks questions directly of the woman. She says, "Oh, I don't get involved. I just leave it all to him. He can make all the decisions." And that sort of thing can actually then put you back. You know, she's sort of almost putting herself back. And he's trying to sort of coach her to answer his questions.
That's
because
tricky.
he, you know, there's a 10 years age difference between them, and it doesn't always necessarily mean that that the man will die. But then he's trying to encourage her to work with him. And sometimes there's a, you know, I know I'm just the woman here. I'm just the homemaker. My husband makes all the money, and he'll answer the questions. It's very difficult. There's some like ingrained belief in some older generations that way.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's evening out. But then I think in the younger generations that there's a big piece of education to be done around the value of financial planning. So certainly people of my age, my peers, they're not really alive to it. So mid-40s, people are not engaging with financial planners, or there's a belief that they can do it themselves, or they simply don't understand what a financial planner can do for them. So yeah, lots of education required across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're preaching to the choir here, but definitely it's really important. And I think, you know, getting that sort of mentorship in, going out there, educating people, even if you can offer a week's work experience.
Yes,
Yes,
we do that. Yeah, so I'd like to formalise more of that. We have had work experience people come in, and the response to that for the people that have done it has been overwhelming. And they are genuinely, some of them, talking about careers in financial planning as a result of that. So if people just know about it, I think it's a really exciting place to be.
That's fantastic. And we like to have a bit of excitement in financial planning.
I think there's a lot of exciting things to come through in 2026.
Well, that's a really encouraging note to end on. Gabby, we could talk here all day, but thank you very much for coming in to talk to us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.